Japanese Pokemon cards are some of the most underrated and underappreciated cards in the cardboard world. With their sleek white and grey borders, holographic artwork, and top-notch quality control, they're a must-have for anybody who's an enthusiast of Pokemon cards. They can, however, be a little bit confusing. The set releases and expansions tend to buck the trend a little bit compared to their English counterparts, and if you've never opened a Japanese pack before, you might not know what to expect in terms of rares or hit rates. That's where I've come to help. By the time you finish this video, you'll be armed with the knowledge required to make an informed purchase on some of the coolest sets in Pokemon cards in 2020. I'm okJLUV, and today I'm going to be walking through what you can expect to find in modern Japanese Pokemon card sets. Now, before we get into it, I do want to be clear. Japanese Pokemon cards are actually relatively easy to understand. However, there is a lot of information to process purely because there are so many expansions released at such a high frequency. So this will be a detailed and feature-rich video, but you'll be a master of Japanese sets by the time we're through. So grab a coffee and get comfortable. Before we look at what you can expect to find in a pack or the hit rates in booster boxes, we should familiarize ourselves with the release format and the expansion format. That way we know which expansions to target for our collection. Similarly to English cards, Japanese cards release in a series, which ties directly to a mainline Pokemon game. All cards released under that banner are known as what's called an expansion. First, I'll cover Sword and Shield, and then I'll jump into Sun and Moon, and this is because they're the two most readily available series for Japanese cards in 2020. The current game release, as I'm sure you all know, is Sword and Shield, and the first expansion released for this series in Japan was Shirudo, also known as Shield in the West. There are currently 8 expansions in this set. S1H Shirudo, known as Shield. S1W Swordo, known as Sword. S1A VMAX Raijingu, known as VMAX Rising. S2 Hangyaku Crashu, known as Rebellion Crash. S2A Bakuen Walker, known as Explosive Flame Walker. S3 Mugen Zone, known as Infinity Zone. S3A Densetsu no Kodo, known as Legendary Heartbeat. And the upcoming S4 Gyoten no Boruteka, known as Shocking Volt Tackle. Now, I've just named 8 expansions, and you're probably wondering, hey, what gives? There's only 3 expansions released in the English TCG so far. To put it simply, Japanese expansions have less cards than their English counterparts, and so 2 Japanese expansions will almost always combine to create 1 English expansion. Shield and Sword combined to create Sword and Shield in the West, and more recently, Explosive Flamewalker and Infinity Zone combined to create Darkness Ablaze. Further to that, Japanese sets are actually ahead of the English sets, so when you buy the latest Japanese expansion, you're actually getting a sneak peek of what to expect in the English expansions. And there are always some cards that don't necessarily make it over straight away. For example, Galarian Corsola V and Gardevoir V didn't make it into Darkness Ablaze. But these cards do eventually make it across. As we know, Gardevoir V is going to make an appearance in Champion's Path. Moving on to Sun and Moon. There are a total of 30 expansions in the Japanese Sun and Moon series. Because of this, it can be quite difficult to figure out which Japanese expansion has the Japanese version of the English card that you really like in the English set. Maybe you're chasing the Blastoise GX or the Reshiram and Charizard from Unbroken Bonds, and you're not sure which expansion has it in it. For this reason, I highly advise that you look at a card list before you purchase an expansion. Websites such as Poker Collector are an invaluable tool for something like this. But if you do ever get stuck, feel free to drop me a DM. Now, there is a third type of expansion for Japanese cards, and in Japan this is known as what's called a high class paku, literally high class packs. You may have heard of GX Tag All Stars or GX Ultra Shiny. These are known as holiday sets, and they follow their own set of rules separate to the mainstream typical expansions for Japanese cards. I'll be covering these expansions in a separate video as I do want to go into a bit of detail with them. Great, so with this aspect covered, we're ready to move on to the Japanese booster pack format. Okay, straight up, Japanese booster packs differ greatly from their English counterparts. There's a little bit to digest here, so I'm going to start with the most obvious difference, the rarity tiers. Japanese cards have more rarity tiers than their English counterparts. With English cards, we know we've got the Circle for Common, the Diamond for Uncommon, and the Star for Rare. Japanese cards take it a step further, so we know very clearly when we've got something that's super rare, like a secret rare or a rainbow rare. The rarity breakdown is as follows for Sword and Shield. C for common cards. U for uncommon, which can be either uncommon Pokemon or an uncommon trainer card. R for rare cards, which always have a silver border and a silver holographic art, which really makes them pop. R for V cards, noting that for the Japanese expansions, the Pokemon are embossed on the V cards. R, which is a new slot in Sword and Shield for VMAX cards. SR for super rare, which is for full art Pokemon V cards or full art trainer cards which exceed the expansion card set number. HR for hyper rare cards which also exceed the card set number. And UR for ultra rare for any gold trainer cards or gold Pokemon cards. For Sun and Moon, the C, U, and R tiers is exactly the same, but everything beyond R differs slightly. R for double rare, which is for any GX or Tag Team GX card. SR for super rare, which is for any full art Pokemon GX or Tag Team GX card, or full art trainer card which exceeds the expansion card set number. Note that HR and UR tiers are the same as for Sword and Shield in Sun and Moon. The second major difference here is that Japanese booster packs have 5 cards per pack compared to 11 cards in English packs. Legendary Heartbeat is the exception here, which actually has 7 cards per pack. Third, there is no guaranteed rare slot in Japanese booster packs, with Legendary Heartbeat again being the exception. Every pack of Legendary Heartbeat will always have at least one R or higher card in it. Every pack is sure to have something pretty in it, with some cards in Legendary Heartbeat like Lugia and Dialga being absolutely fantastic looking cards on their own account. Fourth, there are no energy cards in standard Japanese booster packs, with the high class packs being the exception here. Recently, Tag All Stars featured holographic energy cards and super rare energy cards in the set. And fifth, there are typically no reverse holos in standard Japanese booster packs, although sometimes in the high class packs we do see reverse holos. Recently we saw them in Tag All Stars and Ultra Shiny. Now, when it comes to pricing, in Australia, Japanese booster packs vary in price between retailers. This is because each retailer is likely using different channels of importation at slightly different costs, rather than with the English sets where they're typically sourcing their supply directly from the same Australian supplier. For the most part, packs vary in price from $3.95 AU to $6.95 AU. Me personally, I wouldn't spend more than $4.95 AU per pack, as anything beyond this price point starts to drop the value proposition for me. When choosing where to purchase Japanese product from in Australia, my personal preference is really simple. I only use registered and reputable online retailers. My reasoning for this is really simple. I know that if there's ever an issue with my purchase, I'm going to have much stronger consumer protection than if I was to purchase product via a private seller on a social media platform. So I can always buy in confidence knowing I'm getting the best price with my full consumer protection. Right now, I'm purchasing all my Japanese product through a local Australian retailer known as Rare Candy Collectibles. They've got a website you can check out and they have a massive range of Japanese stock. Fantastic. So now the fundamental features of Japanese packs are totally clear. You can go and buy in full confidence knowing exactly what you're going to get. You won't get any nasty surprises and you won't get thrown off your pack openings. More often than not, when you see Japanese cards for sale in Australia, you're going to see them in booster box form. Japanese booster boxes typically contain 30 booster packs per box. The latest release, Legendary Heartbeat, has a different format, as booster boxes for this expansion contain 20 booster packs per box. In Australia, Japanese booster boxes will cost north of about 110 AUD. Similarly to English cards, you're going to get more bang for your buck if you buy a booster box over buying individual packs. But the cost saving isn't the only benefit. There is one huge fundamental difference between English and Japanese booster boxes that makes Japanese booster boxes unparalleled. The hit rates for Japanese booster boxes is almost always set in stone. For Sword and Shield, this means you'll almost always find 7 R cards, 5 double R cards, the V cards, 2 triple R cards, the the VMAX cards, and either 1 super rare, hyper rare, or ultra rare, which works out to a total of 15 cards which are tier R or higher. For expansions from Sun and Moon, you'll almost always find 11 R cards, 3 double R cards, and either 1 super rare, hyper rare, or ultra rare, which makes for a total of 15 cards which are tier R or higher. And finally, for Legendary Heartbeat, you'll always find 1 Amazing Rare, noting that so far Amazing Rares are exclusive to S3A Legendary Heartbeat, 1 Super Rare, Hyper Rare, or Ultra Rare, noting that sometimes you may find 2 in a box, and a mix of R, double R, and triple R cards, which works out to a total of 20 R or higher cards per box. Legendary Heartbeat presents amazing value. You'll always get an R card in a pack, you'll always get an SR or a HR card per box, and you'll always get the Amazing Rare. Not to mention that the R cards alone look fantastic. It is one set that you just cannot look past. As you can see, there is some insane value to be had in Japanese booster boxes. The official Japanese TCG website explicitly states that you'll always find 1 SR, HR, or UR in every booster box, so you can chase those elusive cards with confidence. And with the card lists in these expansions being generally smaller, it means you'll fill out a binder pretty quickly. Having said that, considering that there's usually 10 or more SR, HR, or UR cards in an expansion, chasing these cards is actually as difficult as it is in the English TCG. As always, there are no sure things in Pokemon, but at least with the Japanese booster boxes we can sort of formulate a strategy with the partial certainty inside each box. For me, knowing that I'm going to land some sweet cards when I buy a booster box is part of the reason why I highly recommend buying a booster box over individual booster packs. No doubt, single packs are fine here or there, but if you're trying to fill out a set really quickly, booster boxes are typically the best way to go. So there you have it. Now, there's quite a bit of information to process in this video, but now that you understand the fundamentals, you should be ready to chase your favorite Pokemon in what is arguably the best looking format of Pokemon cards in 2020. I'll be digging deeper into the intricacies of Japanese cards periodically, so make sure to subscribe to stay up to date, and if this video was in any way helpful, make sure you hit the like button. As always, if you have any questions, please do feel free to comment below, and if you've got any suggestions, please feel free to send me a direct message. Make sure to follow me at twitch.tv/okJLUV where I'm showcasing new product weekly, and instagram.com/okJLUV where I'm providing daily updates. Thanks again and peace out, guys.